Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
Gonna mean mug it there.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another youthful episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 369, recorded on Sunday, May 1st, 2022. There it is. We're going to be talking about another Patreon pick tonight. This was chosen by the one, the only Hydra Berg, and the movie is Young Frankenstein from 1974. Before we get to it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy, Randu. So,
How's it going, buddy?
pretty good. I'm excited to talk more Frankenstein, man. It's
Dude,
the
yeah,
past
this
few
is
weeks.
A
What's
Frank
going on?
heavy month. It's a
Yeah.
heavy Frank this month. Yeah, this one is like gonna kind of be a little bit of a taster too, because it pulls from a few different Frankenstein sources. So I'm excited.
It's a sampler, a Frankensamp, if you will.
Well, yeah, I will. You know I will.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Last but not least, calling in from South Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy to the sweat drop down my ball stains.
Oh, that's a bad stain.
Well,
That's a rough stain.
we had to represent 369 episode and we didn't want to get sued, so we got to do the best we can.
The sweat dripped down my ball stains.
That's the best.
That's the
we
moniker
can
you
do.
have chosen for yourself.
I mean,
Okay. Well, no kink shame.
it is what it is. 369. I mean, this is a momentous occasion, This is
Yeah.
history in the making. How many podcasts make it to episode 369?
How many
Only-
podcasts are as sweaty as us? Let's be honest.
Yeah. How many podcasts feature balls as sweaty as these?
Mhm.
Let's get real.
That shit doesn't come easy, okay? You got to work for it.
I know.
Thank you, Hydrabird, for picking a flick for us once again. Before we get into it, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick. This is a brand new month, which means we got a brand new poll. Our May poll did close. The theme was Friday the 13th, and the winner was Jason X. We'll be talking about that soon.
Oh my lord.
Congratulations to X.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Good
Yeah,
for
by
Jason.
one vote. That was a interesting race.
I know, it's close, very close.
I will
This
say
might
that
be like the.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was listening back to episode where we covered 4, which was around like the 160, so like almost 200 episodes ago. And at the time we're like, oh, do you think we'll ever cover Freddy versus Jason? Oh, maybe one day. And I was like, no, you won't, boys.
Never.
Sweet simpletons of the
I'm
past.
from the future, and I know.
That does mean we have our June poll pick currently posted on our Patreon website. The theme was actually Randy's Takeover Month.
Oh shit. That spells bad news for everyone.
What did you land on there, Randy?
Oh, the theme that I have chosen after much hemming and hawing between the three of us, trying to decide on which one I liked best, decided on made for TV horror. So we have all three films that are specifically drawn from television only, or originally on television only. So that's really it.
Got some real chill choices, Randy. I'm sure, real light romps.
they're made for TV. You know, it's if you can stomach a ShamWow, you can stomach these movies. That's how I look at it.
I don't
No,
know
the
if I
movies that
can.
I've chosen are three of them. One of them is Duel, the early Spielberg joint from '71. One is Threads, which is a nuclear annihilation film, very light,
Mhm.
from BBC, which I have not seen actually. Actually, I haven't seen those two, but I have seen the third option, Body Bags, which is a John Carpenter led piece that was kind of supposed to be oh boy, shit, what is the name of that show? The HBO show, the
Tales from the
anthology,
Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt,
Oh.
Yeah.
like mimicking that format, and they wound up just making it into a TV film. So those are the three options. I think three pretty cool options personally, but you know, I'm me, so chances are I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm interested to see Threads. Even if it doesn't win, I want to check that out. I've seen the other two, and they are definitely pretty fun. So it's like two pretty light ones, and then one like devastatingly like harrowing movie, I guess.
Brutal.
That's what I've
Yeah.
heard. Like everything I've heard
All
about
right.
that movie is that it is one of the scariest films ever made, which I find
Damn.
really difficult to swallow considering it was made for TV. So I'm very
And in the
curious.
80s, damn.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
Let's see.
Well, make sure to get your votes in before the end of the month, and we'll see what we're talking about in June. Also, if you support us at the $10 level on Patreon, you get access to a whole back catalog of Patreon exclusive content. Last Friday, we just dropped a mini cast on there for you, in which Justin was talking about one of the latest docuseries over on Netflix called Conversations with a Killer, the John Wayne Gacy tapes. That sounds fun, Juice.
Oh yeah, so much fun. As fun as a clown.
Nice and light.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Maybe people now just associate weird clowns with, or no, I guess Pennywise too, but John Wayne Gacy, I think, kind of perpetuated that for sure. But yeah, that dude's weird. He one of the most infamous serial killers in the United States, I believe, ended up with 33 bodies attached, or murders attached to him, and most of them under his creepy ass house. So yeah, listening to that dude talk is super interesting. He's a huge piece of shit, but for
What?
for 3 hours, you can dive into a little American history there.
Yeah.
Nay.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
yes,
actually
can.
used it right there. Yeah.
I was agreeing with you.
That's a positive.
Yeah,
Randy's
we're all
bilingual.
we all feel very positively about the Gacy story.
Love it. You can check that out over on Patreon, and there's like over 60 episodes on there now for you guys to slam
Damn.
into your ear holes if you would like to. That's all
How
we got
many?
for Patreon.
How many, Bob?
Over 60.
Whoa. Oh, we're gonna hit episode 69 soon. Damn. 369 and 69 in the same
What are you gonna do?
year. Wow. It's like
Listen
the
to 'em
stars
all.
aligning.
Mini cast on this Vinegar Syndrome pornography that I purchased.
Maybe we'll
That's
see.
Bob.
Yeah.
I
was speaking
have
from
not,
his perspective, of course.
have not purchased any Vincent porn, just to be clear.
Vince.
Okay. Well, you're lost, buddy.
That's got to
I
be a
guess.
subreddit.
I'm sure it is.
Ooh.
Everything is. That's all we got for Patreon. I did mention last episode that I'd be drawing the winner of the raffle on this episode. And if you're out of the loop here, we had a raffle going on last month. All you had to do to enter was leave us a 5-star review, 5-star rating, and a nice little review over on iTunes, and you would be entered to win. The winner for this month's raffle is
Melvin do?
close. It is our boy 1 a.m. Wes. Congratulations.
Oh,
1
Wes.
a.m.
All right.
You know what time
Ship
it
something
is.
out to Cali.
It's 1 a.m. Yeah, let's
It
put
is,
his
yeah.
exact address on this episode
Yeah.
for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, congratulations, man. Thanks for leaving us that review. And I'll drop something in the mail to you ASAP. Last thing I have here is a big thanks to everybody that hung out this past Friday for our Joe Bob watch party. This is This was his first episode of season 4, and we've done a watch party for, I believe, every episode he's done up until now, which I can't believe this is already season 4. It's kind of nuts. We had a solid crew show up, and it was a lot of fun. It was the 100th episode that he's done for Shudder, and he was talking about Night of the Living Dead. So he, capped it off with a classic, which was pretty dope.
Yeah.
We'll be doing that every week for season 4. So if you want to join us this Friday, just check all of our social media outlets just before 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll throw out a link. You can click on that to join the Zoom watch party. And you'll be watching some Joe Bob and chatting with the rest of the crew. Mark your calendars.
All right. All right.
That's all I got. Do you guys have anything you want to mention?
Nope. My house is clean for now.
Yeah, I keep this shit nice and squeaky.
This house is clean.
Nailed it.
Seamless.
All right. Let's get into the main event. We're talking Young Frankenstein.
What's on the back of the box?
This is our
That's
first
what-
show. We've never done this.
That's
before. We don't do this.
that's what you
every
get
week.
for having a pause, Bob. Who pauses in the middle of what they're supposed to be? Honestly.
Yeah, we are talking Young Frankenstein from 1974 this week with a runtime of 1 hour and 46 minutes. This was written by Gene Wilder, Mel Brooks, and of course based on characters created by Mary Shelley. This was directed by Mel Brooks, starring Gene Wilder, Madeline Kahn, Marty Feldman, and a bunch of other hilarious folks. Peter Boyle as the monster. Gentlemen, kind of a silly question here, I believe. Have you seen this movie before, and would you recommend people check it out? Randy, kick us off.
Yes, I have. This is a classic film within my household and many others. This is very evident by its widespread love. This is one of those big crossover hits that's really hard to find somebody that wouldn't get anything out of watching this movie. So yeah, it's a pretty firm recommend for me. I think this is one of those comedies because it's Mel Brooks and it's not quite like the blue humor that, would scare off like young kids. I watched this as like, I don't know, like a preteen with my mom and dad. And it was, it's great for families is what I'm getting at. I think it's a really good comedy for that sort of situation. And it pays homage to the OGs of the Frankenstein genre. So the genre, Frankenstein series, I don't know. Name.
Yeah, that works. It all works. Juice, what about you?
Yes, I have seen this before. I did not grow up with it though, and actually I don't think I saw it until I was in college, because I remember I think I checked this and Blazing Saddles out for the first time like around the same time, kind of getting into some Mel Brooks. I've still actually never seen Spaceballs. I did grow up with Robin Hood Men in Tights. It's interesting seeing how, I guess we'll talk about it in the movie, but how he's got this like parody on westerns and then sci-fi and horror or whatever. So that's pretty cool. I like this take on the old black and white Frankenstein film from the 30s. Fun fact, this movie was closer to the OG 31 Frankenstein than it is to us now, because this is 50 years removed and that was 40 years separated.
God.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh,
Yeah. Anyways, I would recommend this one. This one I actually have put up for a poll pick, I believe, like several years ago for like horror comedies. But also I just keep it on my list because we cover classics like for a year now, and I've had it on there. I think this is like a horror classic, even though it's a comedy, and I would recommend people check it out. Bob, would you recommend? You got this blue, right? I saw you holding it up for the screenshot.
Of course,
You
it's
got
black
it.
and white, but
I got it on blue, black and white, all the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah, Bob, what color is your blues when they're in black and white?
shit, man. What's a snake eating its own tail, bro?
Well,
brother.
For rainbow in the dark, cuz
I do recommend this movie. It's a funny movie. No, I've seen this a handful of times before. Like both of y'all, I didn't really grow up on this. This might have actually been the first Frankenstein movie I ever saw, though. Like, before the original, before any of the Hammer horror stuff.
Might be mine too, actually.
Yeah, I definitely dig it though. I think it really nails what a parody should be, and that's an extremely difficult thing to do. So if you haven't seen it, if you're into the Mel Brooks style of comedy, which is a very specific brand of comedy that I don't think everybody probably loves. I don't know, just keep that in mind, I guess. But I think it's 100% worth watching, especially around like spooky season. For some reason, I want to like throw this on around Halloween time. I don't know why. It's not like Halloween specific in any way, but maybe just that like classic vibe,
Could be
That aesthetic, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, it sounds like a pretty solid recommendation from the Straight Chilling crew. Let's go and drop that spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie.
Spoiler warning.
I want to do a timeout real quick because Randy, you were cutting in and out pretty consistently. Maybe can you like bounce out of the chat and come back in and see if that helps at all?
Yeah, I'll be right back.
I wasn't having
Okay.
any problems with them, but you did cut out for me one time, Bob.
I did.
But Randy, I haven't had any glitches with.
I haven't had any issues with Soju.
Okay.
But
Well, better safe than sorry. Here we go.
Yeah. The show. If we can fix that, that'd be tight and save me like an hour worth of editing.
Damn.
That was weird. Oh no. The color has returned.
Oh,
the color,
no.
Duke. The color.
The colors, Duke. The colors.
Damn, that's throwback.
Now that's a bump. We should put that on the roster.
Yeah, we could put that one on there.
Ain't no popsicle brand gonna come after us.
Unfortunately, I'm too scared of the Yin Yang twins suing us. Feel like that would be right
all
up their
should be.
alley.
Yeah, those litigious ass rappers, hip hoppers.
They like to duke it out in the courtrooms, those guys. Really heady shit.
Randu.
All right. Let me make sure I got the audio. Share. Testing.
Yep.
Cool. All right. I'm good when you guys are.
Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, you tell me actually, Bob.
Yeah, I'll punch us in, and then I'll just queue up Hydra Bird's reach round, and then you can smash the play button, if you will, Rain.
This is why you watch behind the scenes. This is what you get.
This is the fun stuff.
You get to see us even more
How to
confused
make a
than normal.
podcast.
Here we go. All right, yeah, so typically here I would read my plot synopsis of the entire film. However, Hydra Bird, who chose this movie tonight, has a show of his own called A Cut Above. You can find that anywhere you get your podcasts. And he is in charge of synopsizing the films over on A Cut Above, and he calls them his reach around plot synopsis, in which he synopsizes the film in form of a poem. So he sent one of those over to us this evening, and I'm going to let him take the wheel. Randy, if you would.
Hey, boys. So I recorded a reach around like I do on A Cut Above now for my review for Young Frankenstein. So here it is. A comedic take on Frankenstein's lore. A monstrous tale I do adore. I've watched it now and times before. I hope your review was not a chore. Now walk this way just like Igor. Froderick denied his family's past. His grandfather's work he put on blast. But thanks to an all-star cast, it's celluloid that's built to last. This film lives again now on your cast. For all your listeners to watch at last. I picked this classic just like a booger. but paid you boys like filthy hookers. Now I bid you adieu, just like Frau Blucher. That's my horse.
About to
Wow.
say that should have been the bump we got. The
Yeah,
the
that would
horses
have been a great
neighing.
bump. We're not smart enough to come up with that though. That's why
Thank
they pay
you.
Mel Brooks what they pay Mel Brooks.
Yeah. That's not the first time I've been called a hooker, I'll be honest with you.
I mean, this week or
Tonight. You never get used to
damn.
it.
Damn.
Thanks for the beautiful poem there, Heidelberg. And the courteous reach around. He's a thoughtful gentleman, let me tell you.
Oh,
Always giving out the reach arounds.
Oh yeah.
It also isn't penetrating you. That's a bummer.
Apparently that's a
whoa.
bummer, Rob. Your
That's-
own words.
A bummer. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and get into the rest of this movie. Yeah, I think the thing that sticks out to me the most when I'm watching Young Frankenstein is like how well they stick the aesthetics of this movie. And like, you know, it's shot in black and white, which I guess Mel Brooks really fought for. And the creature design is like pretty incredible. The layout of the laboratory, the way they edit this thing, just the whole, like they nail that like 1931 original Frankenstein vibe and like really pay homage to it in a way that I think is extremely difficult to do, but also like shows just how much they truly like love and appreciate the original material that they're sending up. That's kind of like what I noticed first in this movie anyways.
I'm gonna make an attempt to sound smart, but I don't have any knowledge to back it up. I'm pretty sure this is homage and not so much parody. Like I think that there's a distinction, if I'm remembering correctly, and homage is like more of a loving thing. And I think this takes a lot of love for the source material to the point where it essentially acts as a comedic sequel to like the first several Frankenstein films from the Universal canon. They even mention at one point in this, like when the townspeople have met up, the elders are like, you know, some of us, we need to have some sort of plan in place. Some of us elders, we've been around long enough to still have nightmares about the last 5 times this happened. And it's like, yeah, they're building off of that shit hard. And I love that.
Yeah. I was also going to say too that this being a movie from the 70s, you know, comedy and horror is very prominent. You know, you have some iconic horror comedies, but comedy in general is tough to kind of transcend time. You know, that's one of the kind of things about comedies in some ways is that like how much of it is rooted in, you know, cultural references of the time or things that like maybe don't age as well as just maybe some other genres do. But I think this one, like I said, I didn't watch this until, you know, I was in college and had no kind of nostalgia like value to it and found it very funny. And even when I was watching it this time, I just couldn't help but just like crack up. Like most of the time, I don't think there's like a whole lot of moments where I was just like busting a gut. But I mean, I chuckle a lot of the way through, like some good quality laughs. And I think it holds up pretty well in that realm.
Definitely. I mean, it could be really easy for this to have like one-liners about fucking, I don't know, flash cubes or like fucking, I don't know, afros or something that like was such a cultural touchstone of the time or whatever, you know, but they don't go that route. They are really, and I think honestly what helps with that is that the source material itself is a period piece. So already the thing that they're making this homage or parody of is already displaced in time. So it kind of doesn't have to deal with that stuff, but to their credit, their jokes also don't specifically deal in like cultural touchstones of that time, of the then current time, the 70s.
Yeah.
So they managed to dodge that bullet consistently, and Mel Brooks is really good about that. I think, like you mentioned, you watched Robin Hood Men in Tights, and there's a few things in that that are definitely like specific to, or not specific to, but like definitely meant more to somebody in the early 90s than it does to us now. But by and large, it's things like wordplay and puns and like silly little things like that that are evergreen for the most part.
And they do a lot of that like classic physical humor as well in this that I think is timeless. Like, people, flying through windows, or, that they got the commissioner or the inspector, and he's got like his weird, like, ratcheting arm thing that he does all kinds of weird shit with. So there's like jokes that are rooted in almost nothing. It's just like physically things are happening that are funny as hell. And those are the jokes that I think often land with me the most in this. Like the wordplay gives me like chuckles here and there, but the physical humor is what really like sticks out to me in this. I like that stuff.
Oh, really? I kind of might feel the opposite, but that's
Really?
interesting that we feel as strongly about it either way.
I might lean more towards the physical comedy, but one of the first ones that like gave me a chuckle on this one, I was trying to write like some of them down, but it was when he's got that dude in the lab and he's like, "You filthy rotten son of a bitch," and he like goes to kick him.
Yeah.
Like that. I love when like Gene Wilder like freaks the fuck out. That's my favorite
Dude.
parts of Gene Wilder. And so that kind of gives like a little hint of it, of him just being like, "You son of a bitch."
Yeah, and then he does fly off the handle at the guy. I love that guy at the beginning. That's the student that's testing him. They picked the most sniveling, fucking Shkreli-esque motherfucker they could find, and it's perfect. Isn't it true?
Yeah,
that you stole your father's work?
So wormy.
I love it, and he literally calls him a worm in a really pretty clever way. I thought it was nice. I like that. Like he kind of starts as a very serious man, and then just kind of exists in this nebulous like clown world where things just keep happening around him. Like there is one like reference that I never did understand until my mom told me that it was like from some song, and it involves Gene Wilder on the train where he stops at Transylvania Station and he's like, "Hey boy, is this Transylvania Station?" You guys remember this bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the kids like, and they like, it's just a weird exchange, and it took like, it was a few times into seeing it before my mom's like, "Oh no, that's like a song from back when or whatever."
Oh,
It's
okay,
like,
because I didn't get that.
I didn't get
if
that
I
either.
if I didn't have my mom there to tell me that once, then I wouldn't know to this day.
I thought that
So-
was a weird beat. Yeah.
There's
What-
the
oh, go
the
ahead.
Ovaltine, like the Ovaltine gag, also might not land with people.
Yeah.
Like, do they even make Ovaltine anymore? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure
either.
they do. They still make
Yeah.
fucking like nickel nips and like weird shit like that. Like they still make
Nickel
Moxie
nips,
soda,
right.
and that shit tastes
Damn.
like rancid ass. So
Half
Sweet
star
deal.
for the nickel nips, eh, boy?
For the nipple nips.
the nickel nips, baby.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jason.
I was gonna say part of like it's interesting too, Gene Wilder being in this film and it being a horror comedy, but when you get some of the most intense scenes is because Gene Wilder is able to kind of flip that switch and turn it on, which is the same kind of thing we often, or not often, but sometimes bring up this debate of, is Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory horror, and specifically it's that scene referenced of the boat where Gene Wilder freaks the fuck out, and I think he's able to bring that creepy intensity so well, especially in a comedy, that like really kind of sets this up even more well for being like a horror comedy.
Oh yeah, he's like I mean, he championed this. They weren't Mel wasn't gonna make this movie originally. It was a condition of him being in Blazing Saddles that Mel make this movie. So Gene wrote this, and it seems tailor made for him because it involves like just it's alive, that sort of thing. That like he's just pulling from that, and he's doing it almost better than the original. Like
Yeah.
I would say that I think about the line as read by Gene Wilder before I think about the line as read in I can't remember the actor's name from the original Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Him
I wanna
riding
add-
up into the storm or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and go like that monologue is so epic. I love that shit.
And
Yeah,
it's so interesting. I'm sorry, Bob, I cut you off.
I just wanted to add to that bit you were talking about, Randy, where like this was sort of Gene Wilder's baby, and he brought it to Mel Brooks to make. And another stipulation he had was that Mel Brooks agreed to not appear in this movie and just direct it. I guess Gene Wilder felt that whenever Mel Brooks was in a movie, he couldn't avoid the temptation to break the fourth wall, which would sort of make this movie lean too far into like the comedy world, I guess, like further than he wanted it to in some way. And I guess I get that. Like Mel Brooks is just like he is Mel Brooks all the time. Like Gene Wilder can play different characters. Like he's still like kind of always Gene Wilder too, but like Mel Brooks is just like always kind of the same, I think.
Well, he's
I don't know.
always a vaudeville specimen before he is a character, and that I can understand. But they do break the fourth wall in this movie a couple times at least.
It's true. Yeah. you're
Fucking
right.
Igor has that
Igor,
like
yeah.
amazing scene with the abnormal brain. Like,
I,
and then the Peter Boyle looks at the camera when the little girl asks what else they should throw down the well, and just sort of like kind of looks at the camera and looks around. I love that.
that brain depository, like, you know, drop brains down the slot after 5 p.m. or whatever. I need to get that sign on my front door.
Yeah. You know what's
Fantastic.
interesting? As I actually think that this, you know, I just had this like little connection I made. This movie, I think, is to Frankenstein as a property, as like as a cultural icon, what like Return of the Living Dead is for zombies. It almost solidified certain aspects. You know what I mean? This, it's easy to sort of like almost conflate this movie and its choices and its aesthetic and all that stuff as like the Frankenstein. Like, you know, it's almost distills everything down to its base components and makes it almost a symbol of the original franchise. The way that Return of the Living Dead did with zombies in general, and like giving them the brains and giving them you know, a pathos of we're in pain all the time, like all these little things that they sort of add to the canon that become, even as a silly comedy, as both of these kind of are, they kind of canonized certain things about that property. I think that's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. And I think probably a lot of people, you know, we mentioned that probably all of us watched this before the original Frankenstein. That's likely the case, I would think, for people our generation. Like, you know, back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, you know, before this movie was made, that's obviously not the case. But nowadays, I think you probably throw this on before you would a movie made in, you know, 1931 or whatever.
I'm sure.
So like, you know, going back and watching the original and seeing like what it's pulling from after you've seen this, you know, but like you're probably always going to think like, you know, Frankenstein is Gene Wilder, like, you know, or at least, you know, we do, like the big monologue when he's like riding up into the sky, you know, like It's Alive, like that comes to mind first in a way, which is, it's interesting. I guess it's just like, you know, when things were made, but that's kind of interesting to ponder on. I wonder if that's the same for old Heidelberg himself.
It also sticks out to me too that, you know, are you telling me that I put an abnormal brain into a 7-foot tall, 54-inch wide gorilla? You know, like that epic freak out or whatever. That always sticks out to me, just in the realm of Frankenstein too, of, you know, what really is the problem with this monster. Like that just kind of is cemented in my brain.
I love that scene too. God, that shit is so fun. Marty Feldman, man, he's the funniest character in this show and funniest actor in this movie to me. Like his reactions to fucking everything. He is the perfect foil, because when Victor is going off the rails or otherwise being very serious, that scene in particular where he's like talking to Igor, he's like, please have a seat. And he's trying to remain calm. He's like, just little, like the little mannerisms of both of them are so perfect to play off each other. And then to cap it off with a callback to the sedative moment. It's just so good. Like, I don't know, there's no other, I don't know how to break it down in a way that's smarter than that. It's just good. It's just funny. These fucking guys have these little micro facial expressions on during that whole thing, and then when they just, like, Victor just explodes. Oh god, it's so good.
There's his favorite moment to me is the joke. It's just ridiculous, where the fiance shows up and he's like, oh, you know, Igor, can you get the bags? And he's like, all right, you take the blonde and I'll take the one in the turban.
The
And
one
he starts
in the
like
turban.
gnawing
Yeah, he does
on
like
her.
a-
That shit, it's ridiculous.
He does like a Groucho Marx. It's great.
I love that shit. I was cracking up pretty good at a lot of his bits.
Dude, the Walk This Way is a classic. Like, that joke might as well be owned by this movie at this point, even though we all kind of like know it independent of this movie too.
Yeah,
it's kind of like That's What She Said, you know, is owned by Steve Carell now. that one is owned by Marty.
When the fiance shows up, Frederick is like, "Oh, this is my financier." Like, he just
Yeah.
butchers the word
Yeah.
as he's getting completely busted. I don't know. I think my favorite like wordplay joke is the werewolf their wolf situation
Yeah,
towards the
absolutely.
beginning. Classic.
I thought you wanted to. Like, why?
I'm easy.
It's just so fucking stupid and fun.
There's so many good, like I keep going back of like what's kind of my favorite moments of the joke. I don't know. I think Gene Wilder like really brings the like in like I don't know, when he gets intense, it always cracks me up. Like when he goes in, he's like, "Don't you know what a joke is?" And then he freaks and he's like, "I'll kick your rotten heads in," and he like starts laughing.
Yeah.
That's
Let me out. Let me out.
his freakouts like
Yeah.
at the beginning too always like crack me up the most, I feel like.
My grandfather's work was doo-doo. That's a great line. When he stabs himself and then just kind of like
Yeah.
looks at it and then calmly crosses his like that is a brilliant fucking piece of physical comedy.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
God damn, he is so good. And there's just like nothing. Okay, what I'm trying to do now is trying to be critical of this movie because it's clear
I
like
was
that we
just
all
about to
kind of
switch
love this
gears.
movie.
Yeah.
We
uh-huh.
need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
try.
Yeah.
And I will say that like in my memory anyway, before watching it this time, I had it in my memory that like, yeah, the first half of this is really funny. It's really quick. It's like, it moves at a pretty good click, but then it sort of really slows down. And that's
Mhm.
kind of true, but it's not as true as I
Mhm.
thought it was in my head. It's not like the second half of the movie that's slow. It's like it's like maybe the
middle
last quarter.
section? Oh, really?
Yeah, I think like once the putting on the Ritz is done, it starts to really like slow to a crawl for me.
I agree with that for the most part anyways. Because like the putting on the Ritz scene like feels kind of out of place in this movie. Like, and it just sort of like pumps the brakes really hard when that happens for me, and like it takes me out of the story in a way. It's just like it's too over the top, I guess, because like we got this creature that like can't form words really, but then all of a sudden he's like tap dancing like a motherfucker. I mean, I know it's like a comedy. It doesn't really matter, but it just felt a little like weird. I don't know. Did that feel out of place to y'all, or is that just me?
I mean, narratively, I see your point, but I think I still love that scene. I think it's like I enjoy watching that scene, but like narratively, I feel like it's kind of a climax scene pushed a little early, maybe, or close to it.
Maybe, yeah.
I kind of agree. I don't really care for that scene. I'm not like huge on music in my, in movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can feel very awkward. In this point, especially when you're trying to mix horror and comedy and music, it feels a little awkward for me. I'm definitely not in love with that scene, but I found where some of it was like kind of lagged was when the monster escapes the castle and he like interacts with that little girl, which is a reference, to the OG. And then with the blind man, like there's like some funny gags, him pouring like the soup in his lap, but those like I don't know, the monster like is good, but he's not like the one I just want to see like for its pure comedy value, so that's where it kind of lagged the most for me.
So like when it's a monster-led scene and doesn't involve the other group, I agree with that generally. But I will say that I love those scenes with the little girl, the blind Gene Hackman as the blind man. Like I think both of those scenes, like they're direct parodies. The only problem I have with them is that they feel like shorts. They're like segments in the film. They feel really segmented and really inconsequential. But I mean, this is a Mel Brooks film. If there's not a little bit of ability to digress into a silly little bit, then it's not a Mel Brooks movie. So it kind of like feel like that's unfair to criticize. It's not, it's taking it almost too seriously as a narrative, which it's not a serious narrative. In no way is this a serious narrative.
It does
it's just
kind
there
of
to prop up the jokes.
It does feel like there's a certain number of references that they might feel obligated to hit. So they're like, we got to get the little girl, we got to get the blind man, because without it, it's not really a Frankenstein story, right? But I do really like seeing Gene Hackman kind of randomly appear in this movie as the blind man. I like the physical comedy in there where he's dumping the soup in his lap and he lights his thumb on fire and all that stuff. Like that, the physical shit in that lands for me, and just Gene Hackman is amazing in basically anything he does. So, it didn't bother me too much, but it does feel kind of like they're going down the checklist a bit at that point. It just kind of derails the narrative anyway.
I always forget about the seesaw part of the little girl scene where she flies through the window. And buddy, it cracked me the fuck up today when I was watching. I was like, it's just so light and it was like nothing but net.
On the bed.
And then just in bed, already covered. It just for some reason that really worked.
Yeah, that's one of the funniest moments to me too. That it lands very well.
And it's done so easy. Like he just sits down and they don't even show the girl flying until she's in the window. He just shows his head looking up as she's passing over him. It's great. It's good stuff.
It is good stuff. The also like the brain transference at the very end where like he finally like shares some of his intellect with the creature. That felt like it kind of dragged to me too. Like you've got the unruly mob chasing the monster down, and like we have to have this whole other like operating kind of tables sequence, and it's just like we're doing this again. The last third, the final act does feel like maybe it's a little bit confused and trying to cram too much narrative in, whereas like it starts off very clearly like on track, heading in a certain direction, and it sort of like tailspins at the end a little bit, I think.
I think so too. Go ahead, Bob. Juice. I mean,
I was gonna say that I actually thought, and this is kind of in the back half too, the whole character of the fiance, I was like, I would have been completely fine if they just cut her out. I know like she ends up with the monster and it's like a playoff, Bride of Frankenstein, but like you didn't necessarily have to have that. But like him, where he like takes her away and like they bang it out or whatever and stuff like I just any of her scenes, I was like, really, this movie could have easily done without her completely, and I didn't really care for her, so I was like,
See, I don't agree entirely. I understand what you're saying, like because that is more monster centric scenes, but I think Madeline Kahn elevates that a lot. I think what she does with what little screen time she really has is really pretty fantastic, and I think that like so. I also think that the tendrils of that event, whether or not that event itself is all that seems all that consequential, it really does sort of like set the stage for the end of this movie, and it gives like a clear ending point. And no, that's kind of what I feel like. I feel like whoever Gene or whoever else wrote this or whatever, they kind of knew that they wanted those pieces in the end piece, and to a certain extent they wrote backwards to the point like, okay, so there needs to be a meeting of these two characters. And it needs to like, and it was really up to Madeline to make that funny because he's just a grunting behemoth, So I don't know. I like it. I understand why you wouldn't necessarily, but those to me feel way more in place as a narrative device than like the little girl, which I also like, but is pure joke,
Yeah.
Are we supposed to infer that during the brain transference scene where he's Frederick Frankenstein is sharing his intellect with the monster, that in return at the end when he's in bed with his now wife, he inherited a giant wiener from the creature?
Oh yeah.
That's the assumption.
So right.
Oh yeah. They set that up pretty
good.
I thought,
I didn't think about it being a big wiener. I just thought he was exceptionally good at boning. I thought he had
really?
I just thought he inherited some mad hog skills.
No, I mean they set it up because even at the dinner table when they're talking about building the monster and like, oh, we're gonna make his proportions huge, which I referenced
he'll be very
when we were
popular.
talking. Yeah, and then you're like, oh, he'll be very popular. And then when he takes the fiance away and then they bang it out, she seems to be digging on it. And then he says that he inherited something, and then that's the same kind of joke or whatever.
Yeah,
he's got a swinging dog.
Yeah, I know he does. I mean, I know that the monster does. But like
we
to
all
me,
know.
I mean, they make reference to that. I just didn't see the two as necessarily connected. I thought it was more of like just general performance.
Oh no.
Well, libido enhancing brain transference.
I guess. Yeah, when you brain transfer, obviously your genitalia alters.
Swinging Tom, monster dong.
Yeah, what do they call it? The Schwarzenberger?
What is none of your business?
Yes.
None your business. Yes.
That's perfect.
That was kind of an interesting way to end the movie, though. Also, there's like, whenever the creature does sort of like descend upon the fiance, that's kind of an uncomfortable scene because
It's uncomfortable.
it's a rape scene that ends in a joke because he's got a big wiener. I guess it's like not a very funny sequence. I don't think that aged particularly well, but
Madeline's acting really like pushes it, helps push that aside. But you're right, like on modern lenses, it's really tough to take that without taking it at face value to some extent.
Yeah, she's raped by a monster.
And loves it
with a
apparently.
monster dog.
Yeah, it's like it's extra cringy that like she ends up being about it just because like he's got a huge wiener, so it's fine now. I guess it's and it feels weird. Don't like it. Could have cut that out. I think
you don't like that.
No, I'm afraid that they wouldn't approve of that at all.
No, yeah, I agree. It was like weird to me, and also like I don't know. It's again like if they could have cut her out completely, I understand like that there. It ends on the joke of he's a regular schmo now and he's married and she's the bride of Frankenstein. But if they cut that out, and then also I agree with the putting on the Ritz scene, like that scene was kind of uncomfortable for me too, because I was like, what's the point of him? I don't know. It's like, yeah, like he walks a little bit, but then like what's the joke of him like barely able like to say putting on the Ritz? Like it felt like weird. It felt uncomfortable to me. I don't know. The music and the situation and all of it together, I don't think that joke lands particularly well for me.
Yeah, I mean, I you have like a thing about musical comedy in general, and to me, like though, I think that works fine. I think that the joke is like that. Oh, this is suddenly just like a ridiculous glory hounding performance for Victor, and he's like, it's like. I don't know. It's like King Kong. It's like, they strapped King Kong down on Broadway and they're like, check it out. I can make him eat a banana. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the important thing about this. You're just trying to get some glory and some money. And that, I don't know, maybe that's just me connecting dots that aren't really put out there. But that's always how I felt about it, is like, especially when he like insists on continuing the performance after the monster freaks out. Like, I'm always like, just, calm him down, say, all right, that's the end of the show. I gotta go. We gotta calm this down. This is still basically a newborn baby in terms of mentality right now.
Also, where does all that fucking cabbage come from?
I was gonna say they came in packing, man. They were ready to throw that shit.
Well, yeah, they were ready to hate his ass, and they were going to almost one way or the other. But putting on the Ritz almost turned him around.
What a waste of
Super
cabbage.
duper. Yeah,
you could pickle that shit.
That's the true victim, is the cabbage.
Make a little kimchi out of it.
Yeah, or the kraut. You could kraut it. You could kimchi
it. You could kimchi it.
Speaking of kraut,
kraut is just flavorless kimchi.
Okay. Do we really need to go on a pickled vegetable tirade here?
It's all rotten at the end of the day.
It's all fermented fucking shit. When I was a kid, the comedic character that I really didn't like care about was the inspector. As I've gotten older, I appreciate him a little bit more, though. I think like it's a little bit more subdued, and especially like I kind of understand what the character is going for more. That's one character that I don't think that I really understood, like his relevance to the Frankenstein story or whatever. He's kind of just operating as a Van Helsing professor sort of type a little bit, but yeah. I just like the physical comedy of it now. At the time, I don't really think as a kid I understood what was happening with his arm and all that shit. But
his favorite scene to me was when they're playing
darts.
Yeah. Other than that, he's
so
kind of
beautifully.
When he like smokes or when he lights his hand on fire, like that's pretty good too. But yeah, he's a particular character that again he kind of has to carry his own scenes. And so while they're okay to me, I'm always just like, bring me back to the funniest people.
I
just want more Igor, baby.
Igor's fantastic. There's two sequences with the inspector that really stand out to me, is where he's like addressing the unruly mob, and his German accent or whatever accent he has is like so thick they cannot understand a word he's saying. He has to like clarify. And then when they get when the mob actually gets to the castle, they just pick him up and use his arm as a battering ram to knock the door down.
Interesting. European style.
European style.
Good shit. It's good shit.
Yeah, it is good shit. I don't know. Like I don't like he's just one character that I totally agree with Justin, where it's just like, yeah, I mean, he's kind of funny, but get me Igor, baby. Get me back to Igor,
Yeah.
my boy.
Yeah. And how the hump moves from like side to side.
Yeah.
I like that.
Dude.
It's another classic like physical comedy gag that you just don't see that shit in any movies anymore these days.
The nearly dead head placard, or he's like,
Yeah.
that shit. That's fucking incredible. Like that is just, oh man, I don't know. There's no words for how funny some of this stuff is, and that just means it works, I guess. The thing is, I don't think that any of my criticisms of this movie really hamper my love for it at all. Like any of these things could be different, but I don't know that I would approve of changing anything. If I could go back in time and correct things, I don't know that I would.
If I could turn back time.
Thank you.
If Randy could find a way. Yeah.
Cher is just what we needed right now. That is Cher, right?
Caring is caring.
We gotta sing all these songs ourselves so we don't get sued.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
From the window.
If you think that will prevent us from getting sued, you are sorely mistaken.
Wow.
Until the soju dropped down my balls.
Damn.
All right. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think my criticisms of this movie are like kind of on the lighter side too. It feels a little long. It feels a little meandering in the third act. It's not like bust a gut funny, but it's like consistently like full of chuckles throughout it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I don't know, like I don't know that I would change much about it either, other than like the couple like uncomfortable sequences that we've already mentioned that just don't like they don't hold up very well through a modern lens, I think.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about Rob Looker.
Oh yeah, dude, the horse Winnie every time she says her name, like solid gag. I don't know.
Yeah, he who was my boyfriend, all that stuff. Like Cloris Leachman does so much with almost nothing in this movie. Like she has like 4 scenes where she's a standout or where she's like a big part of the scene, and every time she just like she manages to do something that is so fucking just the pursed lips after the like third Winnie as she's like turning away. She's like, God, it's like I feel that for her. I'm bummed for Cloris in that moment.
Poor lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys have any other things that you wanna touch on? Young Frankenstein.
I think I'm all right.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and rate this bad boy out of 5. Juice, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel?
All right. This one, it's a little tough because I really do love it. And like to come into, a horror comedy that's at the time, I don't know, when I first watched it, it was like already 40 or something years old, and not having any kind of nostalgia to it and still kind of fall in love with it or recognize the kind of brilliance of it, like that's pretty huge. I do love the black and white aesthetic. I do love how they're able to capture so much of like the cool vibes of the original Frankenstein. Maybe some of the comedy doesn't age as well, or maybe it wasn't as spot on even in the time, but for the most part it does. It does still kind of come together for me. I'm pretty consistently like chuckling throughout. The Gene like kind of makes it for me. His freak outs I love. He brings such intensity and can go from kind of a light-hearted, just kind of aloofness or just goofiness to such like raw, intense, like scary intensity that it's like so impressive. And then the supporting cast is like super great too. A lot of great physical gags. The inspector is not as sharp. It does kind of get a little slow in the middle, and like that rape scene and then the music scene is like, I don't know, kind of like either weird or uncomfortable for me. And so I don't know, but I still just personally love this a lot. And so I guess I'll knock it like a scotch. I'll be fair and say like there are some fair critiques of this, but overall for me it's still a very enjoyable film and a kind of like a very important film. It's like one of the most iconic Frankenstein films to me. And so I'm still gonna put it at like a 4.5.
All right, 4.5 from Juice.
Bob, would you like to go next and give your review on Young Frankenstein?
Sure. I'll slide in here real quick. Yeah, I think we're mostly on the same page here. I do think, like, I mean, yeah, I think you could call this an homage, but I think it nails a parody. I think it definitely qualifies as a parody and kind of nails it. Like some of the other Mel Brooks type movies, like Spaceballs and Blazing Saddles, I think are very funny in their own right, but they lean too far into the like comedy and like send ups of what they're parodying, I think, and they don't take the source material quite as seriously, specifically in Spaceballs. It's still a very funny movie, but I think this movie does a really great job at like balancing a certain sort of like reverence for the source material and also like sending it up and exaggerating that source material, which is a very difficult thing to do. And I think a lot of that has to do with like how well they captured the feeling of the original Frankenstein movies. And like they even got a lot of the original set pieces from the lab from the original movie and like use that in this. Mel Brooks went out of his way to make sure they filmed it in black and white. The editing techniques, the score, the opening credit sequences, the title card, like it's all just very of the time. And I appreciate the hell out of that. Like the attention to detail and like the love that you can feel just kind of baked into that are really what like sell this movie for me. It's not the funniest movie I've seen. I don't think it's the funniest Mel Brooks movie I've ever seen, but it is like consistently funny. Like it's got chuckles all throughout it. I like that they include a bit of the Bride of Frankenstein, but I feel like, they just kind of tried to cram a little bit too much in the end, and it feels a little bit meandering. And I think a more like straightforward ending would have sort of like landed the plane, just made it feel a little tighter. Like the opening feels so tight, and it feels like it starts with like such a clear direction, and then by the end of it, it just feels like a little all over the place to me. And because of that, it feels like a little bit long. If you cut a few of those sequences out, it would have been a tighter movie, and I think it just would have been better overall. But it's far from a bad movie whatsoever. I enjoy it quite a bit. I'm going to come in with a 4.5, same as Juice. Randy, how do you feel?
I pretty much agree with everything you guys have said. There's things about this movie that I think like I want to give this a perfect score in my soul. I want it.
I kind
but
of
I
want
know
it to
like
as well. Yeah.
it's tough. I have to almost to talk myself out of it by reminding myself that no, this isn't really a perfect movie. I know what a perfect horror comedy looks like because I've seen Shaun of the Dead. So like, and that is that movie's tighter than a fucking snare drum. You couldn't squeeze an extra inch off of that. And that's kind of like the thing that this particular film as a horror comedy is missing for me, is that it's just not always focused as well focused as it should be. But I do love it. And it's like things like, the choice to make this movie black and white is no small choice. That is like, that could have been a death knell for this movie. And it almost was. I remember my mom telling me specifically that her and my aunt were talking about going to see this movie, and my aunt didn't want to go because she didn't want to see some old black and white movie. And then they both saw it and they loved it. But like, thank God they did, because it could have been really easy for people of the time to, and it probably was, to be like, I don't want to watch a dumb black and white Frankenstein movie. I've seen that. I don't care about that. And not really like give it the time of day. Like it was a financial risk. Like I respect that. There was no reason to do it except to pay homage. And that I wanted to read this. I looked it up. According to this wikidiff.com, the difference between homage and parody is this. A parody is a work or performance that imitates another work or performance with ridicule or irony, while homage is, in historical feudalism, a formal oath of a vassal to honor his or her lord's rights. So it's like I looked it up even further. It goes on to say that an homage is to pay reverence to something
Mhm.
by external action. And I really feel like this is the latter. I think the black and white thing really solidifies that for me. And I respect the fuck out of it because it's definitely could have taken a bigger financial toll than it did. Or than it did in the long term, I guess. Let's see. And then there again, like I was saying earlier, there's parts of this movie that are almost as iconic or more iconic than the original movies that it's based on. The It's Alive thing, the look of Frankenstein's castle. When I think of Frankenstein's castle, I picture the opening of this movie, the title crawl for this movie. That's what I picture. Like I don't picture anything else. Like this thing really nails that entirely. And I don't know. It's clear that there's a lot of love for that stuff, and I just really respect that as a fellow appreciator of that stuff. So I don't know. I want to give it a 5, but all in all, I think that the sort of unfocused nature of some of it kind of works against its benefit. I wish that it was just a little bit tighter in runtime, a little bit tighter in execution and inclusion of certain things. But overall, they managed to make a pretty goddamn timeless comedy with this movie, I would say. And I respect the fuck out of it. So I'm giving it a 4.5. It'll be a 5 by the time I'm finished with this sentence, and it'll alter 3 or 4 more times before I'm done. So that's it.
Sweet. Well, for right now, that puts our aggregate at a 4.5. Let's jump over into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about Young Frankenstein.
Certified.
All right, ladies and gents, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to ask these two gentlemen to guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate user and critic scores are for Young Frankenstein on RottenTomatoes.com. Now, there are 70 critic reviews to count for here, just 70. So keep that in mind as we go through, and you tell me what percentage do you think were positive? I'll start with Bob today. Bob, where do you think this lands on the scale?
Also, Bob, I need to put a little pressure on you. If there's any week that you need to win at least one, it's this week, episode 369. This is your week to win.
Hey,
don't drop the ball, okay?
Thank you. I feel like this has got to be pretty damn high. But how high? How high should I go? Maybe.
So too much.
Yep. There goes my retirement money.
Yep. Damn, now I gotta spend all night editing.
I'm gonna go with an 88.
Ooh, 88.
Oh man, I was gonna guess
point at which
87.
time travel begins. All right, Juice, where are you gonna fall with this one?
Damn, I was gonna go 87, which would be the $1 down. Maybe I'll just stick with that. Maybe that's a smart move. 87 for me.
87. All right. Well, Juice, you done fucked up. This here is a 94%.
Whoa! Bob! Get low! Hell, skeet.
That's a lot of skeet. Thank you for your
hell
enthusiasm.
skeet, motherfucker.
If there's
hell skeet right here.
If there's any week that we're going to salute that, it is episode 369. So enjoy it while you can, Bob.
Oh, thank you. Let me bask in your skeet.
Get
just
that
like old
bump.
times.
Get that bump now.
Yeah.
Stop what you're doing.
We got to get an intern to set this thing out for me.
Yeah, we were talking about running for Congress before we started this show, and that's off the table for me now. Sorry.
No, it's not, buddy. There's no bottom. Anyway.
Rob, you just blew my sweat drop down my balls line away.
I blew your sweaty balls away.
You blew them away.
You blew me away.
Whoa. We're getting all kind of sound clips there.
Oh, boy.
There are 100,000 plus audience ratings for Young Frankenstein. Juice, why don't you tell me what percentage of those you think are positive?
I think a large, especially when people are coming out, back in the day before they kind of filtered it out, coming out for Young Frankenstein. But with that many, the number is going to drop. a scotch. So I'm gonna stick close to my original guess, but I'm gonna take the boys of Project 86.
Ooh, the 86. All right, Bob, how about you?
I think it's still going to be pretty damn high. Lower than 94 most likely, but still pretty damn high. Juice is going 86. I'll $1 up with an 87, please.
87. Well, Juice, you fucked up again.
Oh,
Yeah, this one here is a 92%.
So much
92.
skeet this
Bob,
week.
hell, skeet, sweep.
You got to get the
Bob.
broom out.
Yeah,
gotta sweep that skeet.
sweep.
You gotta sweep that skeet. That's part of the job. You also
That
gotta
how
mop
you-
the slop, but we're not talking about that right
Yeah,
now.
is that how you clean up around your house, Bob? With the broom?
It's like
I
Lil
clean up with a
Jon-
mop and bucket.
Lil Jon and the East Side Boys just left the club. They just blew out like a 2-hour set, and that floor is covered with skeet. You
Yeah,
gotta
the
sweep it
broom.
up.
I'd be
Gotta
stroking.
get the broom.
Get the broom. Whew, tip your
Just means
bartender.
like more shit I gotta do now.
Rob needs to
That's right.
hydrate, apparently.
Congratulate. It's just coming out like dry creamer.
Dust.
Oh my God.
like a bag of hot cocoa.
Yeah.
With the little marshmallows too. Just boom.
Oh my
Damn.
god.
You need to see a
that's-
doctor, my God.
Just gonna tell him
it's
you're
the
having too.
health
He's just gonna tell me I'm having too much fun. What's a doctor gonna do?
You're
Anyway.
having too much fun.
Stop having fun. Anyway, critics' consensus made with obvious affection for the original. Young Frankenstein is a riotously silly spoof featuring a fantastic performance by Gene Wilder. I don't know where spoof fits into the homage parody
Yeah,
conversation, but
I know. I was about to
Where's
bring that. I was like, is
spoof?
that the best option? I don't know.
I don't know. Parody versus homage versus spoof versus pastiche. Jesus Christ, we
Damn.
live in hell. Anyway.
It's
What is
there's too many
lang-
words.
What is
Here,
I don't need to
language?
know all these things. Why can't
It's,
all words mean the same thing?
Humorous imitation of something, typically a film or a particular genre of film, in which its characteristic features are exaggerated for comic effect.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Sure,
that's
that's
more
kind of a
apt than
spoof,
pretty much
yeah.
it. But it's just definitely some elements of homage because it's clear that they love this fucking stuff
Yeah,
that they're building out of.
for sure. Yeah.
It's not a Zucker Brothers or not even Zucker Brothers fucking
It's not a
um,
scary movie 3
scary.
situation.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
They
like
don't give a shit.
epic
you know?
movie. That's the go-to hated one.
Goddamn
Damn,
epic
that movie
movie.
is
That is one of maybe
Pure
two movies
horror.
I've ever walked out of.
yeah, that
Um,
movie is.
And I don't think I
Unwatchable.
paid. I think I was when I was working at the theater and I was like, nope, this is not worth my free time.
As a teenager too, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had nothing but time on my hands.
If you can't capture
Um,
that audience, you fucked
you're
up.
fucked.
You fucked up. You fucked up. Hey, let's read a negative review because sometimes they're funny. I have doubts in regards to anybody saying this movie is not good though, because they must have no sense of humor. All right, here we go. It is good-natured, lowbrow, backlot, hit or miss humor, but with no cumulative effect beyond its succession of hard-worked jokes. It's a fucking comedy. What do you
Yeah.
expect from a comedy, a silly comedy? Never struck me as funny, but it's well put together. What the fuck does that mean? I
Negative.
hate you people.
I could if somebody it came in and said, I don't find this movie particularly funny, I could understand that. You know,
I
like
could, but I would also hate them. No,
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I don't
Damn.
know. You know, comedy's hard to nail down anyways, especially a movie that's 50 years old. And a lot of it is the physical comedy. It's silly and they do the repetitive thing a lot, which is like, you know,
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
the horse neighing or her asking, do you want anything? And him having to refuse over it. Like a lot of it is that like repetitiveness until you get your audience laughing kind of horse. I mean, the kind of comedy. So
Same diff,
So-
bro.
I could understand.
Yeah, but then there's people like this who say most of the gags were juvenile, and it's like,
Oh well,
I mean,
I don't know.
Fuck you.
Like somebody is this is the kind of guy that tells me that farts aren't funny, and I look at him and I say, "You are a liar. You're a liar,
You
sir."
filthy, rotten son of a bitch.
There's not. I mean, there are base elements of humor. I find that's why Jackass is so fucking fulfilling.
Yeah.
It's because it's like very base human elements of fucking humor. And if you can't enjoy that on some level, I mean, you're broken. You're broken.
Yeah. Boys, do you always have a cigarette after sex?
I mean, yeah, to complete
Per
the
Young
comedic effect, certainly.
Frankenstein. Yeah.
Absolutely. You got to do it.
Who am I to break precedent?
Mm-hmm.
You got to dust off. You got to reanimate that libido, son, and then, smoke a ciggy afterwards.
And then pump yourself full of nicotine so you can go again.
That's right. It just gives you energy.
7 is my lucky number. Anyway, that's the end of Rotten Maters. Let's move forward in life.
All right. We're moving forward in life with some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
All right, fellers, I got a few little beats of trivia here. I already mentioned much of the lab equipment used as props was created by Kenneth Strickfaden for the original 1931 Frankenstein film. Apparently, he just had all that shit sitting in his garage.
That's nuts.
Yeah, they found him and were like, "Hey, do you have any of that stuff left over?" And he's like, "As a matter of fact, it's all right here."
My wife
clean my garage for me.
Yeah.
right.
You'd be really doing me a solid.
When are you gonna get that Frankenstein shit out of my garage?
That Franken shit. It's bullshit. Damn it, Kenny. I can't park my car in the fucking garage. Also, Gene Hackman learned about the movie through his frequent tennis partner, Gene motherfucking Wilder, and requested a role in the movie. He wanted to try out comedy. Yeah, the Gene squared. I guess they played tennis together.
Is a deep.
Oh
God.
Yeah, killing it. The original cut of this movie was almost twice as long as the final cut. It was considered by all involved to be an abysmal failure. It was only after a marathon cutting session that they produced the final cut of the film, which both Gene Wilder and Mel Brooks considered to be far superior than the original.
Damn.
Which, I bet.
So,
shouts
out to those editors.
Yeah, killing it.
This kind of comedy just has to be fast paced. Otherwise, you're really like, it's not dry enough to live with some breathing room. It's really got to be packed in there Simpsons style.
Oh God, we fucked up. I can't imagine just sitting there and be like, oh God.
I wonder if that experience is what led to the creation of the producers.
Didn't the producers come out before this?
I don't know, but
I think it did.
A very similar situation happened in that in the story there.
Yeah, I think it did.
Anyway,
the brain in which Igor is sent to steal is labeled as belonging to Hans Delbruck, a scientist and saint. There was a real-life Hans Delbruck. He was a 19th century German military historian and professor at the University of Berlin, notable for going beyond technical problems and linking warfare to politics and economics. His son, Max Delbruck, was a 20th century biochemist and Nobel laureate as well.
Be prepared to be bedazzled.
Well, I mean,
I've
made 369 episodes of horror podcasts. So
yeah,
what
but
do
yeah,
you want?
yeah.
I mean,
our awards in the mail.
When we die, our brains will be preserved for science.
Oh God, please no. Again, and I cannot stress this enough. Put me in the trash.
Yeah, I better be in my Transformer robot tomb. That looks like Nick Cage.
Oh, the pyramid. Yeah, that'd be
Cage bot.
Now, the last bit I have here is the experiment that one of the medical students mentions in the movie, where Darwin preserves a worm in fluid until it came to life, is originally mentioned in Mary Shelley's foreword to her novel Frankenstein. The Darwin in question was Erasmus Darwin, which is the grandfather of the famous Charles Darwin.
So wait, he put something in a jar, it came back to life?
A worm, yeah. I guess he preserved a worm in some sort of fluid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, that
Isn't
is
it true?
Dude,
that I'm a pain in your ass.
he kind of reminded me of his face and the way he does is the dude from Mystery Men who also is Pee Wee Herman, but specifically
Paul
the
Rubens.
character in Mystery Men.
What is it? The spleen or
Yeah,
something?
the spleen.
Yeah.
Farts
He
are
who
funny,
smelt it
right?
dealt it.
Right
Yes.
there, proof.
Yeah.
Yeah. That movie is incredible and really dumb.
Yeah,
and
when are we gonna
incredible.
cover Mystery Men?
I don't know,
It's-
man. I guess gotta hope that Hydraberg gets another pick this year.
It's a superhero movie, so Hydraberg will try and pick it for sure.
Oh yeah, it's part of the MCU, as we all know. It's going to show up in Multiverse of Madness. The Shoveler's going to come
holy
through.
God.
The Shoveler's going to come through and just wang Kang in the back of the head.
Wang Kang.
Everybody wang Kang tonight, you know.
Wang Kang tonight. Wow. Yeah, that's all I got for trivia. Let's go ahead and talk Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Gooder of the week.
Juice, what is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Cooter's a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, and we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, this is going to be an interesting hunt this week. We have, I think, maybe a couple potential cooters, but I don't know. In a comedy, it might be a little bit harder, but let's kick it off. Does anybody have strong feelings about a particular nominee?
I have strong feelings for this nominee. Bob, did you have one or no?
No, not really. Like maybe Frederick Frankenstein. Frederick Frankenstein.
I kind of feel like
nobody. Yeah. What do you got? What do you got?
I mean, based on our previous discussion about the Madeline Kahn scene with the monster, the introduction, I would argue that the monster's got at least sexual deviance on his plate. And
True, yeah.
there's some patheticness to his original form where he's unable to, you know, like, I don't know. It almost like isn't, you're almost not able to call it pathetic because he's like a newborn baby. Like, it's kind of tough to say that.
Yeah,
but the sexual deviance at least is there, and
he
look in
shits in his drawers apparently.
What?
His she's she at the end she's like, all right, I put some baskets in the bathroom. One's for your shirts and one's for your socks and your poopy undies or whatever.
I didn't.
He doesn't have time to go to the bathroom. Okay,
you know. So the one thing that didn't reanimate is the anus.
He's just leaving a bunch of streaks in his.
It's just a loose sock.
Just
nothing.
A little rosebud.
Nothing
in
stopping
there.
the leakage. Yeah.
So,
oh gosh!
If we've got that to go off of, I mean, come on, guys. Oh god!
What a nightmare.
Well, look at attire. He is a monster, definitively.
He's got a zipper on his neck.
He's an old zipper neck. I thought that was kind of a funny thing. Smug arrogance, no. Manipulation, no. Look at attire, yes. Sexual deviancy, yes. Patheticness, I feel I'm on the fence on. So I don't know. That's a very strong case.
Maybe he
for him.
can't hit it. How about let's talk about Frankenstein, because I feel like he could get sexual deviance because he's like kind of cheating on his fiance. Yeah. Smug arrogance could be.
Smug arrogance. Well, it kind of develops that. Yeah.
Yeah. At the beginning, he goes on.
Well, his pride is very soft, which maybe adds to patheticness too. His pride at the beginning, especially at mention of his grandfather, it's almost clear. They don't really make this statement, but it seems like his character is like he's working so hard to overcome the stigma around his grandfather's work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So maybe a little patheticness there too, just in formatting your whole career and life course based on, you know, a long dead ancestor, or not long dead, I guess, recently dead ancestor. Anyway,
he's a light one, and I don't know if there'd be a better option though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if anyone's gonna hit it, he's gonna hit maybe enough with, let's see, sexual deviancy, smug arrogance, maybe a little patheticness, and manipulation. Does he? I mean, he kind of manipulates the inspector, right?
Yeah, but I mean, just I feel like we need to start making a distinction between just like lying, especially out of self-preservation,
Yeah.
and
That's true.
being
Yeah, I
a
don't think he's
manipulator. Like he's
with
not
devious
gaslighting.
intention. Yeah, I don't think
He
so.
is robbing graves.
He's robbing graves. Yeah, that's.
Did dig
I
up
don't know
a
if that's
dead body.
manipulative, but it is fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's questionable. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think they're both kind of on the fence, which makes sense for a comedy about the two characters that they're based on.
Yeah, it's mostly based around the characters themselves.
The characters were never like sterling examples of humanity, so it makes sense that their comedic counterparts are likable, but still kind of do that.
One thing
falls
I
in it.
think I didn't mention, but since we're talking about the monster, he starts to give this monologue once he can actually speak about like, man always rejected me and stuff. I think that's lifted. I think that was lifted, at least the beginning part where he's like, man has always rejected me and whatever. I tried to seek out kindness and I never found it. So now I'm going to wreak havoc or whatever. I think that was lifted straight from the book, actually.
I wouldn't be surprised. It sounded like if not the book, then from one of the adaptations, certainly.
Yeah.
It seemed like that.
So are we gonna land on this being a cooter-free movie?
I think so.
Yeah, I guess that would be fine.
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah. They're two
I agree.
lovable rascals.
Yeah, not quite
people.
there.
Raping rascals. Oh boy. Oh boy.
I don't know about that. Yeah. Well, it's just cooter-free. They don't hit.
Well,
they
y'all
don't
are
hit
the
enough
ones who don't want to
points.
lock them up. Okay.
They don't hit enough.
Put them on the streets. We'll be fine.
Points. Yeah, cooter-free since 1974. Young Frankenstein. Let's let our hair down. Let's kick our shoes off, get relaxed, and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Hey, Randu, what you been watching?
Let's see. Well, true to what I said earlier, I've been watching Jackass. Most recently, Jackass Forever came out on Blu-ray. So I purchased physical media.
Yeah.
To complete my
for the
Jackass
penises.
collect.
You gotta have the wieners.
You gotta have the big giant wieners, of course. On screen.
Of course.
I was rewatching this on
In
our big
4K.
screen, on our not our big, on our like
3D.
relatively large TV. I was like, I can't believe that I actually sat in a theater and watched this man's testicles at that scale. I just can't believe I paid money to do that. It is very unlike me. But yeah, I love that fucking movie. I love Jackass in general. I'm a big stan these days, as they say. Let's see. I also was unwillingly made to watch a reality show by the name The Ultimatum. I watched one episode of that. Are you guys familiar with The Ultimatum? Because it's hot shit right this moment, I believe.
So I think so. I think some people in my family watch it.
It sounds terrible.
Oh, it when I describe it, you will be justified in thinking so. It's a reality show in which two people who have been in a relationship for a couple years, two like early mid 20-year-olds usually, are like, well, I said you either got to marry me or I'm breaking up with you. And now we're going into this house where we're going to be basically dating anybody we want in the game. And if we like somebody else better, then we're going to marry them. And just
we're going to marry them.
So, yeah, if you're not right for me, then surely someone else in this house will be at the age of 23.
In this house, who also I'm assuming is like supposed to marry whoever the fuck they're with, but they don't want to.
Yes,
so like nobody gives a
absolutely.
fuck really. What's happening?
I cannot imagine. So like it makes some kind of sense for just very vain people to go on something like The Bachelor. I'm going to submit myself to go on The Bachelor. It's another thing to convince another person to go on to a couples reality show to just bang other people.
Well, Juice, the thing that you're forgetting is that these people find each other and then they're like, how do we get our faces in every home in America, and there's some options. They like hunt. They when they stack these casts, they stack them with like people trying to be influencers and shit. People who need the camera more than they need anything else in their lives, and it's just super frustrating. And everything that's said on the show is geared to make people like me very angry. So I spent the entire hour watching this show, seething with rage that I really wish I didn't have, because I was being played, and I definitely know that. It just sucks, and I will not be watching more. Fuck the ultimatum and fuck everything else. How about that? Fuck 'em.
Great.
I also watched Back to School, which I had never seen before, the Rodney Dangerfield film,
Hell
or as
yeah.
Becky mistakenly referred to it as Randy Mulholland. Becky, for some reason, thought Rodney's name was Randy Mulholland. I still haven't gotten the lowdown as to why.
Drive.
No respect.
No, I'm sorry. It wasn't Mulholland. It was Mulholland. It was not even proper. Mulholland, like Melissa. Like it was. Anyway, that's a movie that. That's a movie that, yeah, it feels like its age. It feels like it belongs in the 80s. It's very like, I don't know. It's kind of funny, but like it's funny. All the Rodney one-liners are funny, and everything else doesn't need to exist as far as I'm concerned. I know people love that movie and whatever, more for you. Sam Kinnison's kind of funny in it. I don't get a lot out of it. I just rather hear Rodney rattle off some one-liners about no respect and whatever else. I'm just a simple boy.
No respect.
And the last thing I'll mention, just because I'm eating up a lot of time, Ghosts, I brought up before, the BBC show.
Yeah.
There were 3 series or seasons of that. And a 4th one, I guess, is coming around. I slowly really came to love that show. Like, I liked it okay at first, thought it was a little hammy, but it's a really easy, light watch after you get past a couple episodes. So I've been enjoying it quite a bit. And I found out there is a US version that just wrapped a 1st season. And so I watched the first few episodes of that. And, they do the normal thing where it's like the same script for the first couple episodes, and then they branch off. I don't know about that shit, man. It's set in America, so they have more Americanized, like ghostly figures as characters or whatever. And that's all well and good, but I don't know if it just has that CBS sheen to it. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Doesn't feel right. So I don't know if I'm alone in that or what. It seems like the US version's getting a 2nd season, which I don't know if that means anything anymore for CBS anyway, but if it means anything, then, I guess it's doing okay. I don't know. Anybody
blown away the like show, like I remember even like back in the day when we would work at the theaters and they'd be showing the newest like CBS show and like some training, be like,
oh yeah,
they just crank these things out, don't they? I mean,
dude, they just cranking out on every like I was looking through shit today on like HBO, which and like Amazon Prime or whatever, and they aggregate from other places like Showtime or whatever else, like Adult Swim. It's like there's just too many shows. There's too many goddamn shows. Yeah. Who has the time for all these fucking shows?
When there's the ultimatum, that's all you really need.
Yeah, I know. Just sit me out in front of the couch to hate watch a bunch of mid-20 people showing their butts literally and figuratively the whole show. Cool. They are exclusively in bikinis, it seems like, in that show. Juice, I think you'd have plenty of fodder for your half star on that one.
Lots of booty meat, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Juice, what have you been watching?
So as you will find out very soon, I've been watching a shit ton of Friday the 13th, pretty much going through the entire franchise. I watched 3, 5, 7, a little bit of 8. I didn't rewatch Jason Goes to Hell because me and Bob watched that last year, and I didn't watch the first one because we all covered that last summer as well. Watched Jason X for the first time. I was like talking a lot on Slack about that one. That one was so much fun, and we'll be covering it very soon, so that's very exciting. Watch Jason X for the very first time. So yeah,
research facility.
Dude, oh my god, I can't wait to talk about that shit.
Let's take this very seriously.
Facility
I'm excited to watch it again under like anyway. You know what? Saving it.
Yeah,
saving
we'll
it.
save
Go ahead.
for
Save it, yeah.
next. Yeah, but so I watched a shit ton of Friday the 13th. I now can officially say I have watched every movie in that franchise. So that's taken up most of my time. I did watch the latest. I'm caught up on Moon Knight now, and in like true Marvel fashion, I don't know, this is kind of just how they do their whole world too. Okay, so they'll have like some like a lot of like, oh, mediocre, okay, that's a pretty interesting but maybe not so great mediocre stuff, and then they'll just hit you with this boom like emotional thing that makes everything more relevant and matter more, and like backed by some amazing acting by fucking Oscar. Like they do that shit all the time. Like how many movies do they crank out and you're like, oh yeah, that's some medium Marvel stuff, it's okay, it's not amazing, but then like this big movie, they do the same shit with their shows, where I feel like a lot of their shows, the first like 3 episodes, I'm like, yeah, it's okay, like it's decent enough, and then like by episode 4, 5, or 6 or whatever, they're like bringing it all around. You're like, damn, that's pretty damn good. They just did that with episode 5 of Moon Knight, I think, and Oscar Isaac like does a really good job with the acting in that. He's essentially playing like 2 completely different characters, and so he did a really good job. So I'm all caught up on that. I think there's maybe 1 episode left that'll come out this week. I am getting close to being done with The Good Place. I don't know if I've started season 4 yet or not, but I'm close. So by like next week, I think I'll be done with the series by next time we talk. So I'll give my overall opinion on that. I'm still good, still enjoying it pretty good. And I'm getting close to finishing out Vikings, which somebody was talking about. There's another Viking show called The Last Kingdom, which I knew about. And since I'm on this Viking kick, I might continue with that because I don't know, it's a good vibe right now that I'm glad I kind of got back into with the Northman and kind of catching back up on this last season of Vikings. So we'll see. But that's all I've been watching. Bob, what you been watching, my guy? How many blues did you get this week? 2 weeks, past 2 weeks, 48 blues.
No, actually, I think everything I'm going to talk about I saw in the theater or streamed. So, first thing I want to mention is I saw The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It's that new Nick Cage, Pedro Pascal movie, and it's pretty damn fun. Nice. It's like it was like kind of refreshing to see because it's like very like self-aware, and Nick Cage is like leaning into this sort of like Nick Cage mythology that exists around him, and it's just like very self-aware and light, and it's got like some comedy and some action. It's very much like these 2 characters are like meeting for the first time, and they just become like fast friends. It's about like this budding friendship, and yeah, there's just like some wild action towards the end of it. It's just like a really nice popcorn flick. It's got like a little bit of everything in there, and even like references the movie itself as you're watching it, and it's like, yeah, it has something for everybody, right? It's interesting to see like Nick Cage sort of transcend himself and like play this like more ridiculous version of himself, apparently. But it's good. It's
I heard
totally worth watching. Mm-hmm.
One thing, and you could just confirm or deny this from your perspective. I read the one piece of information I have about that from somebody is that they felt it was, really funny at first, and then the funny really tapered off and the action started picking up. Is that about accurate?
Yeah, I think there's sort of a give and take there where like it shifts more towards the action for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't really, I don't see that as a good or bad thing necessarily. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think you can definitely say that about it. But I really enjoyed it. It was just a nice breezy kind of movie. And if you don't catch it in the theater, I think it's worth watching whenever it hits streaming. I also have been watching season 3 of Atlanta on Hulu. I think it's on episode like 7 now, and it's been so long since a new episode of Atlanta has dropped. I think it was like 3 or 4 years since season 2 wrapped. And I've been loving it, man. Atlanta is a great show. It's fucking fantastic. If you haven't been watching it, yeah, check that shit out. It's a lot of people have said it's got like big Twin Peaks vibes, and I guess I don't necessarily totally get that, but then again, I haven't seen like the entirety of Twin Peaks. It does have like a through line on season 3 where like Paperboy and like his squad are in Amsterdam. They're touring around, playing like bigger and bigger shows, making some money, and then they'll throw in these like one-off episodes here and there that don't necessarily have anything to do with like the main storyline, but sort of tie into one of the characters in one way or another. It's interesting how this show is written and like broken down. It's not like just one straight narrative necessarily. It's really interesting. It's really funny. It's got a shitload of commentary going on in it, and the characters are like well written, and every single character in the show is interesting. Like you're not always just watching like, you know, Paperboy on stage do his thing. You know, it's like they focus on every single character in the show, and it's just extremely well written and done with care. Check that shit out.
I like that that's an interesting thing that they're breaking off for individual shows. That made me think of Lost of all things. That they did that a few times, handful of times.
You're right.
Two mixed results, but
it's kind of like that, but even looser. It's not even like totally trying to flesh out like a character's background necessarily. It's weird. It's hard to explain. Almost like non sequiturs, but it still like ties in at least thematically. It's interesting. And the last thing I want to mention is there's a new show on HBO that's called We Own This City. It's the latest creation from David Simon, who did famously did The Wire.
I forgot that was coming out.
Yeah, and I didn't know this was coming out. It was just I caught an advertisement after the first episode dropped, and I'd like never heard of it before. I was like, holy shit! But this is set in Baltimore again, like The Wire was, and it takes place in 2014 or 15, something like that. So it's like in the recent past, and it focuses on a particular unit of the police force. They're supposed to just like get weapons off the street, basically. I forget, there's a name for it for the unit, but they just like are supposed to isolate weapons and get them off the street. And it's got John Bernthal in it. He's sort of like the lead. There's only one episode so far, so like I don't know how it's going to develop, but it seems as though maybe John Bernthal is a crooked police officer, maybe he's doing some shit that he shouldn't be doing. But I really liked the first episode. The pilot episode was solid. It's an interesting premise, and pretty much anything David Simon does, I want to watch in completion. So I'll be following this shit for sure.
I'm pretty psyched about that one.
Yeah,
I do want to check it. Dude, do we know if it's intended to be a limited series or if it's intended to maybe be like season 1, season 2 situation?
I believe it's a limited series and it's only 6 episodes, I think. So it's a short one. Yeah.
Yeah. Easy pill to swallow for me.
Yeah. We Own This City on HBO. Yeah, that's really all I've been watching this week. We don't have any voicemails to play this week, but if you are listening, would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show. Well, we'll fix that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you do want to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Do you guys have any prompts you want to throw out there for next week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious how many people consider or saw Young Frankenstein first before any other Frankenstein properties. I'm curious what if they agree that this is like somewhat iconic in terms of like, you know, being what like we described, thinking of It's Alive from this movie before thinking about the James Whale version.
Yeah,
I'm just curious if people how widespread that feeling is.
Well,
or if you feel very differently, let us know that too.
So let me clarify that a little bit, because when we were covering Curse of Frankenstein a couple weeks ago, I had gone and looked at, you know, some list of what people consider some of the best Frankenstein movies. And so some of them were like Rocky Horror Picture Show, you know, or mine, I guess my technically first kind of Frankenstein would be like Edward Scissorhands, you know, which I saw when I was younger. So it's like, while I didn't see this one until I was, you know, in my 20s, it's like, what exact Frankenstein movie, you know, a movie called Frankenstein, or that specifically references the like he's alive and stuff like that, you know, because there's kind of a different couple, you know, like iterations in that kind of way.
Yeah, I mean that's fair because it is such a widespread like trope more than it is. It goes beyond the name Frankenstein. I'm thinking personally, and feel free to get people calling with whatever, but I was thinking more like Frankenstein in title.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
So, and I honestly I would be shocked if Young Frankenstein wasn't right near the tippy top of a lot of those lists. Am I wrong about that?
I mean, it's hard. Like I said, I guess Frankenstein in title, then yeah, that would be mine.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, sweet
Anyway,
deal.
yeah.
Call in, let us know what Frankenstein movie comes to the tip of your brain when you think about reanimated creatures. Like even some people could go as far as saying like, Reanimator is like kind of a Frankenstein story.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
definitely is.
it could be very broad, but if you're thinking Frankenstein in name, then you have to narrow the playing field quite a bit.
I would say like name or in like it's got to be pretty close to the source material. Like Monster Squad, I kind of don't see as fitting, even though there is a literal Frankenstein's monster
that's
in
a good
there.
call,
You know,
yeah. But it's not the story of Frankenstein,
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, call in, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Also, feel free to just call in and say, hey, what's up? How you doing? Oh, if you got any like Friday the 13th stories, actually now would be a pretty good time to throw that out there too, since next show we're talking about Friday the 13th. Crazy shit that happened to you on Friday the 13th, crazy story about watching Friday the 13th, anything, whatever.
Crazy story about being at the Camp Crystal Lake Research Facility and just wild stuff that happens there. How dark it is.
I was changing light bulbs at the
the
research,
and I ran out.
They
only had one.
The CCL research facility. Everybody knows.
They told me no, we don't use those here.
Yeah, hit us up. We'll play your voicemails next week. That's going to do it for us here at Straight Chilling. We'll be back talking about Jason X on next week's show. Slam that into your eyeballs. And until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling, on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
I'm going to keep this recording because technically, this is for Hydraberg's. I thought about this during somebody's What You've Been Watching. I was like, God, we suck at this. We're supposed to play Hydraberg's review with our review.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I had forgotten that was a review. Okay, I was like,
it is.
Actually, that's the problem. Is I assumed it was because this is his pick and he called in, but I don't actually listen to the voicemails ahead of time. This is why you watch behind the scenes.
Yeah. So I'll just
to see us fuck up.
I'll jump in and cue it up, and you can just play that if you would, Randy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And then let's react to it too, and then you just spice it in, Bob.
Yeah.
But I'm behind the scenes.
Let's not just leave it an empty space where a reaction should be.
Silence.
Thank you, Hydraberg.
Let's give a song. It's like the Poochie episode. I'm going away now.
There was this episode of Harmontown where they were doing like a bit where they were being really annoying to some of the hosts, and Harmon's like, all right, next time they come out, everybody just be just dead silent. Let's not reward them for what they're doing. And then they did, and Dan immediately started laughing. He's like, wow, you guys, that seemed harsh even for what I described. No. That's what we should do. Anyway, not important.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Okay, and another thing we started doing this year is whenever you do pick a flick for us to review, we're encouraging you guys to send an email or a voicemail over with your own personal rating and review for the movie that you chose for us to talk about. And we're going to be reading that or playing that on the show. Hydraberg did send us a voicemail with his thoughts on Young Frankenstein. Let's go ahead and give it a listen, see what he has to say.
What's up, boys? It's Hydraberg. I'm just calling in to go over a quick review for Young Frankenstein from 1974, Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein. It's my Patreon pick for you guys this season. So, yeah, just like on a cut above, whether this film fucks or sucks, this is a certified fuck for me, and it's one that I've rewatched throughout the years. It's a classic. For me, this film has a lot of sentimental value. It's being one of Mel Brooks' films that my dad introduced me to, one of the first ones. My dad wasn't big into horror. It was more my mom's thing. But my dad did get me into like the comedy side of horror, like with films like this and like Abbott and Costello meet Dracula and the Mummy and all that stuff. And that was more his shtick. He liked the slapstick comedy and stuff like that. So I have an appreciation for both, thanks to my parents. So thanks, guys. For me, I think this film is a comedic marvel. It's I think it nails the Frankenstein vibes really well that you want in like classic monster films. It pays homage to those, and then injects some great like slapstick. It's got an all-star cast, and in my opinion, it's one of Mel Brooks' best films. Probably my favorite of his, but I don't know if it's his like best work ever. But for me, it's my favorite. Also, I'm just gonna say, Young Frankenstein. For me, like the review, I would give it a 10 out of 10. Abnormal brains, because or a 5 out of 5 for you guys' grading scale. I know it's like it's not a perfect film. There's some issues. I hope you guys definitely enjoyed reviewing it, and it leads to a good discussion. I'm sure it will. I know Randy loves this film, so there's no reason not to give it a perfect score, right? Right? No, but seriously, I know there's a little bit of a rape vibe with the monster and Elizabeth at the end. I kind of picked up on that this viewing, and I'm just like, oh, that's a little creepy. But she does become his wife, so it's all it's fun. But I can see people picking at that a little bit, and some other some other topics maybe in 2022. So it's an older film, so Mel Brooks had a pervy mind too. So, but I don't know. It's just it's a banger for me. It's a classic. I love it, and it's been on my list for a while for you guys to review, and I just wasn't sure if it would come up in a poll pick. It did once, and then it never got picked. So I just decided to use it this time. So yeah, I hope it makes for a great discussion, and I hope you guys just keep chilling. All right, keep it creepy.
Thank you, Hydraberg.
What is his wife? No, it's all good.
It's fine.
Marital rape's not real.
Man. Thanks.
Now my congressional career is over.
There you go.
That soundbite now exists.
Thanks for picking another baller movie for us to talk about, man. We really do appreciate it. The cast is fucking stacked in this movie, and I think I would consider this to be a classic. I don't know if we really touched on that too much, but would you guys consider this to be a classic film?
I think in my recommendation, I think I said I consider it a classic. I kept it on my classic list that I keep if we need a pool of classics to watch. So yeah, I do.
I do too. I think that it has a stronger claim to a comedic classic than to a horror classic, but I think that it has claim to both, probably.
Yeah, that might be fair. But yeah, I definitely would consider it classic.
Yeah, one of Mel Brooks' finest creations, I would say, for sure. And Mel Brooks / Gene Wilder, since his hands were really all over the idea that, from the start. But yeah, solid shit. One of Gene Wilder's best performances for sure. Some standout jokes, and I think it's a classic comedy. I think I would have to go with that as well. Good shit.
Thanks Bird.
Again. Yeah, thanks again, buddy, for picking a flick.
I'm glad he finally got it. Yeah, I submitted it for that poll pick one time, and Hyderberg came around this time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta hope for the vigilantes to come out.
Yeah.
He saved your ass.
They're the ones who gave me Ghost as well. Man, Patreon has really been favorable to me over the years.
Yeah, it sure has. It's because you offer bribes.
That was one time when Bob started campaigning.
Just one bribe. Okay, Senator, we'll let it slide this time.
Had to even the playing field.
You got to offer a hell of a lot more than just one bribe. You got to step that
that's
shit
an ongoing commitment.
Senator Staines over here.
Senator Staines. Senator Wrecker Staines. Plenty of those on yours.
Thanks again, Hyderberg. And our aggregate for this is going to be 84.5. Let's go ahead and jump over into our Rotten Tomatoes segment, see what the critics and users think about Young Frankenstein.
I just had a full brain melt because I was like, what?
Yeah.
We're doing it again.
We're editing editing purposes.
I have the
does
fucking
time
attention
work?
span of like like infant child. Jangle some keys in front of my eyes. My God.
Jangle. Give room service a
jangle. God damn, Gilbert.
Jingling, jingling.
I love
Superfluous.
Never has a character made so much impact with so little.
What fascinating thing are y'all doing?
Are y'all doing? It's just.
I love that. I've always been a creeper.
Says
there
I
is nothing
creep
funny.
like the kudzu that's strangling our Dixie.
Oh my God.
It's the best character that's ever been. I'm convinced.
That's pretty golden.
I guess I should turn the recording off now.
I've
Keep
always
chilling.
been a creeper.